Welcome back everyone. In the last lecture, we have discussed about how do we provision Cisco Unified Communication Manager, where we discussed about how to create the agent phone and what are the guidelines when we create the IPCC extension on an agent phone. And also we discussed about how do we create the end user in Unified Communication Manager. And we discussed about how to associate the device or device profile to the end user, and also we saw how do we assign the IPCC extension to the end user so that the end user can be promoted as an agent or a resource in unified CCX. So with that said, in this section we are going to discuss about the different terminologies, and I hope we already discussed about few of the terminologies in UCCX, but we are going to revisit those terminologies again so that when we do the actual lab you would be able to better understand why we are creating different subsystems. With that said, let me open up the next slide. So the first one is the resource group. So resource group is basically a name or a label which we would be creating under the RMCM subsystem menu. Once we create this resource group, it would be applied to the resource or the agents so that we basically group the agents. So whenever we use a CSQ to distribute the call out to the group of agent, so we have an option to either send it to a group or to a resource skill. So when we want to try assign the calls or send the call out to the group of people using resource group, we can use this resource group and send the call out to the group of or pool of agents. So the next one is skill. We would be creating different skills in unified CCX and assign these skills to the resources. Basically, resources can have both the resource group as well as multiple skills. Keep in mind you can associate only one resource group to the agent, but multiple skills up to 25 skills can be assigned to an agent. So next, the resource. So basically the end user in unified CM with an IPCC extension or unified CCX extension is considered to be an agent or resource in unified CCX. And we saw how do we create, how do we promote an end user as a resource in the last lecture. Supervisor is basically an end user with the capability of supervisor. So once we promote an end user as a supervisor, he or she should be able to monitor or record the calls of the agents, and they can manage the teams or CSQs. Basically, supervisors can do a lot of functions, and we will discuss about those in the later lectures. And the contact service queue, and this is the place where we would say where to route the incoming call and to which agent. Should we route the call out to the resource group or should we route the call out to the resource skills, right? And basically resources or agent has the skills and the groups assigned, so it would pick up the agent from those resource group or from the resource skill. And it can be based on multiple criteria, like you can send a call out to the agent who is idle for a long time, or maybe you can send the call out to the agent who handle the most of the calls in the call center, or you can send the call out to the most skilled agent. We have different options that are available. Once we create the CSQ in the lab, I'll tell you what are the different selection criteria are there, and we will discuss one by one. And team is basically a descriptive name or descriptive label. We would be creating these teams and assign the agents to the team, as well as provide the supervisor's name to it, like primary supervisors and multiple secondary supervisors, so that when supervisors log into the Cisco Supervisor desktop, they would be able to manage the team. So the team has a group of agents, so they would be able to manage those agents. Manage is nothing but they can record the call, or they can barge into the call, or they can monitor the call. They can do a lot of functions from the CST. So team, once we associate to the agent, the supervisor would be able to manage those group of agents using this team. So in this lecture, we're going to discuss about the small scenario, and we would be doing the same scenario in our lab. So we would be having three different agents: the agent 1, the agent 2, and agent 3. And we saw these three agents in the last lecture as well. And we're going to create the skills called 1, 2, and 3. Just for the sake of understanding, just for the sake of this lab, I created these things so that you would better understand and basically think that these skills are for products. Say for example, a customer called X or manufacturing products called 1, 2, and 3, and agents who are trained for a product 1 is going to assign who's going to get the skill of 1, and agent 2 basically trained for the product 2, so we would be assigning the skill, and likewise agent 3 is trained on product 3, we would be assigning the skill 3 to the agent 3. So once we get into the lab, you will better understand what do we do with that. Okay, so resource group, we are going to create the resource group called sales, and we will assign all of three agents to the group called sales. Okay, and we would be creating the CSQs, and as you all know that with the help of CSQ we would be able to route the call either based on a resource group or based on the resource skill. So we have three different skills and one resource groups. So we would be creating four different CSQs, and I will let you know how these CSQs would work in the lab. With that said, let me navigate over to the Unified CCX administration web page. Okay, here we are in the Unified CCX administration web page. Before we start our actual lab, I want to tell you about one thing, which is under the plugins. Let's go over to Tools, Plugins. We have already discussed about these different plugins that are available with Unified CCX, and this links provides the different applications or plugins for desktop product suite. And the first one is called the Unified CCX Client Configuration Tool, which is the main one. Once we finish the installation of Unified CCX, and after we are done with the integration of Unified CCX with the Unified CUCM, we would have to run this tool in the beginning. We would be downloading these three different tools and would be installing these tools to the agents, and the supervisor desktop would be installed on a supervisor's desktop. Desktop administrator is for administration purpose. So we cannot simply download these applications, because once you install these applications, these application doesn't have information about the server. You cannot provide what is the IP address of the Unified CCX, right? You don't have option to provide with these applications. So then how do it contact the correct Unified CCX? So that's the reason we have to run this tool. When we run this tool, what happens is this tool basically download all these three product suites and patch or update the information about the Unified CCX IP address, so that once we download these application, it knows the IP address of the UCCX so that it can contact the correct Unified CCX server. Okay. With that said, let me try download this one, and you will see this error message. What does it say is, please ensure to download and run the Unified CCX, the client configuration tool, at least once before try access any of these plugins that are available under desktop product suites. Okay, so let me go ahead and download this. You can see the file downloaded. Let me go ahead and run that. You would be able to see here in this window, this tool would start loading this client, and we would be able to provide the IP address of the Unified CCX server. If it is a single node or standalone cluster, I mean standalone server, we would be providing the IP address of the unified CCX. And if it is a cluster, we would have the option to provide both the IP address of the unified CCX server. Okay, here you can see that it's asking us to provide the IP address of the unified CCX server. In our lab, its IP is going to be 192.168.9.15, and click next. And you can see that it's loading the configuration tools. And basically this would download the application that we discussed that are under the desktop product suites. It basically download those MSI packages and pass the information about the unified CCX IP that we provided here. Once it patches the information about the unified C6 IP, it uploads those installation files to the unified CCX so that we can download those applications and they would be ready to install on the workstations. And now you can see that it started downloading the client configuration. It's uploading those information back to the server. Now it installed, the supervisor install is being uploaded to the server. So it patched the information, the server information and the language setting to the supervisor installation file, and it is in the process of uploading to the server. It basically download all the three different applications and pass the information about the server and the CAD and supervisor desktop language settings. And once it is done with the patching, it would upload those information back to the server. And now you can see that the client configuration process is complete and those clients are configured and are uploaded to the server. Okay, I'm now back in the Unified C6 administration web page. Let me go over to Tools, Plugins, and click C6 Desktop Suites. Now, if I click any of these tools which are available here, I would be able to download these. You can see that now it starts downloading this MSI packages. So now you can download this and you can install this desktop applications and resources or agent desktop. Likewise, you can download the other two tools and install in the appropriate desktop. And with that said, I'm going to stop this lecture for now, and I'll see you in next lecture where I would be demonstrating the different procedures, different terminologies that we discussed in the lecture. With that said, thanks for watching.